You know that stretch of road, the one you barely think about anymore, the turn into your neighborhood, the little median with the flowers, the fake brick sign with the subdivision name on it, the speed limit nobody follows because everybody knows everybody, and nothing ever really happens here. It's late. The houses are dark. Porch lights glow like little security beacons. Somewhere, a dog barks once, then stops. You slow down. You make the turn, and then you see it. A black pole. Thin, quiet, new. It wasn't there last month. Maybe not even there last week. At the top, there's a little solar panel tilted toward the sky. Under it, a small black box. 2 lenses staring down at the road. And right as your headlights pass across it, click, a tiny red pulse. It saw you. Not your face. Not exactly. Your car. Your license plate. The make. The model. The color. The sticker in your back window that's half peeled off. The dent on your rear bumper that you still haven't fixed. It marked the time, 11:47 p.m. It marked the place, entrance to Maple Ridge Estates. It uploaded the record. And now, somewhere in a cloud database, there's a little digital breadcrumb that says, you came home. Now here's the part that should bother you. Nobody knocked on your door and asked permission. Nobody mailed you a ballot. Nobody said, hey, just so you know, from now on, every car entering or leaving this neighborhood will be logged. It just appeared. Quietly. A pole in the ground. A camera in the dark. A red flash in the corner of your eye. And the strangest part? The government didn't need to force this onto your street. Your neighbors paid for it.
Every story leaves a trace. A missing file. A witness who changes their statement. A symbol repeated too many times to be coincidence. And somewhere in that noise, there's a pattern. Welcome to the Tinfoil Diaries. If you see the world through rose-colored glasses, if it makes you happy, keep them on. But this is a serious look into conspiracies, cover-ups, fringe mysteries, and the things we were told to laugh off before we were told to fear them. Each entry is traced by the host, the voice at the end of the wire, sorting fact from rumor, theory from evidence, and signal from static. Because the truth rarely arrives clean. It flickers. It distorts. It hides in plain sight. Let's follow the signal. The signal.
Welcome back to the Tinfoil Diaries, where we don't just follow the evidence, we follow the people following us. I'm your host, and tonight's entry is called The Panopticon Next Door, the Flock Camera Conspiracy. For decades, the surveillance state nightmare had a very specific shape. Gray government buildings, secret warrants, men in suits, black SUVs parked across the street, a file with your name on it in a basement you'll never see. We were trained to imagine Big Brother as something imposed from above, a system built by intelligence agencies, a dragnet controlled by the state, A machine so massive, so invasive, so obviously dystopian that we'd recognize it the second it arrived. But what if we didn't? What if the surveillance state didn't come wearing jackboots? What if it came as a subscription service? What if it was sold to us at city council meetings with words like safety, efficiency, and community partnership? What if it was approved by an HOA board because someone stole a package off a porch? And what if the most powerful tracking network in America wasn't built in secret, but in plain sight, one neighborhood at a time? Tonight, we're going to follow the signal. We're going to look at the black cameras appearing at intersections, shopping centers, apartment complexes, schools, and subdivision entrances. We're going to talk about flock safety, automated license plate readers, vehicle fingerprinting, data sharing, police access, and the strange new world where public roads become searchable history. We'll separate the facts from the fear, the company's claims from the critics' warnings, the conspiracy theory from the thing that's actually happening. But this one is different. This isn't a rumor about cameras that might be watching. They are watching. The real question is, who gets to search the footage? Let's check the blind spot. Okay, here's the first thing you need to understand. This happened fast, and it happened quietly. A few years ago, most people had never heard of flock safety. Now, once you know what to look for, you start seeing the cameras everywhere. At the edge of neighborhoods, on the road leading into apartment complexes, near schools, near churches, outside malls, at gas stations, on roads that don't feel dangerous at all. They don't look like old traffic cameras. You know, those big bulky boxes hanging over the intersections. The ones everyone knows are either catching red light runners or at least pretending to. That's not what we're talking about. These are smaller, sleeker, a little black unit on a pole, often solar powered, often placed where cars have no choice but to pass. Not dramatic, not hidden, just there. And that's what makes them effective, because most people don't notice infrastructure when it blends in. We accept poles. We accept signs. We accept little boxes attached to things. A camera becomes part of the background the same way a mailbox does. And by the time someone finally asks, "What's that thing?" the answer usually comes wrapped in reassurance. "Oh, that's just for stolen cars." It helps police find suspects. The HOA got it because of break-ins. It doesn't record people, just license plates. Nothing to worry about unless you're doing something wrong. There it is. The oldest lullaby in the surveillance world. Nothing to worry about. Unless you're doing something wrong. Unless you're hiding something. Unless you're guilty. But let's slow that down. Because the camera doesn't know whether you're guilty. It captures every car. The stolen car. The getaway car. The teenager coming home from work. The nurse leaving for a night shift. The father visiting his kids. The woman going to a doctor. The pastor. The addict. The lawyer. The person having an affair. The person leaving an abusive home. The person who just wants to move through the world without being logged. The system doesn't start with suspicion. It starts with collection. That's the important part. It doesn't say, "Show me the suspect." It says, "Show me everyone and we'll search later." That's not a neighborhood watch. That's a memory machine. And once a machine remembers where everyone went, the question becomes less about crime and more about access. Who can ask the machine questions? Who can type in a license plate? Who can search by vehicle description? Who can see the map? And who decides when curiosity becomes investigation? That's where the conspiracy begins. Not with the camera, with the database behind it. The theory goes like this. The government has always wanted perfect movement tracking. Not because every officer is evil, not because every city council member is part of some secret plan, but because institutions tend to want information. Police departments want leads. Federal agencies want visibility. Cities want control. Private companies want growth. And investors want scale. When all of those incentives point in the same direction, you don't need a villain twirling a mustache. You just need a product market fit. Now, the Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect people from unreasonable searches and seizures. That doesn't mean the government can never investigate you. It means there are rules. They got to have probable cause, warrants, judges, and limits. If police want to put a GPS tracker on your car and follow you everywhere, the law gets serious very quickly. But what if they don't put anything on your car? What if thousands of public and private cameras simply record your vehicle as it passes by? What if the data is stored by a private company? What if access is sold through contracts? What if the police don't have to follow you in real time because the road has already been watching? That's the theory. A backdoor into mass surveillance. A privatized dragnet. A network where local governments, police departments, HOAs, apartment complexes, shopping centers, and private businesses all contribute little pieces of the map. And nobody has to say, we are building a national tracking system. They just say, we're solving crime. And I know how that sounds. It sounds dramatic. It sounds like one of those theories where every security camera becomes a portal to the deep state. But here's the thing that makes this one uncomfortable. The basic architecture is not imaginary. Automated license plate readers are real. Network databases are real. Searchable vehicle history is real. Private deployment is real. Law enforcement partnerships are real. And Flock's own public materials describe a shared network connecting communities, businesses, and law enforcement with billions of monthly plate reads. So the conspiracy isn't, do the cameras exist? They absolutely do. The conspiracy is, what does this become when enough of them are connected? Because a single camera at a neighborhood entrance is a security tool. 10 cameras across a city are a pattern detector. 1,000 cameras across a region are a movement map. And tens of thousands of cameras tied into searchable software? That's not a camera system anymore. That's a time machine for your car. It allows someone to ask, where was this vehicle yesterday? Where was it last week? What neighborhoods did it enter? What roads did it use? What other cameras saw it? And once you could search the past becomes evidence. Even if nobody suspected you when it happened, even if no crime had been reported, even if all you did was drive home. Okay, let's establish the facts. Flock Safety was founded in 2017. It's not a secret agency. It's not some black budget project. It's a private technology company that sells public safety hardware and software. Its most recognizable products are automated license plate reader cameras. The company says its mission is to help eliminate crime. And that line is important because most surveillance doesn't sell itself as surveillance. It sells itself as protection. These cameras are designed to capture vehicle evidence. According to Flock's public descriptions, the system can collect a license plate image, vehicle characteristics, a date and a timestamp, and the camera's location. The company also says its ALPR system does not collect facial recognition data, driver information, or biometric data. So no, this is not some face-scanning pole reading your soul through the windshield. We don't need to exaggerate this story. The real version is unsettling enough. Because your vehicle is not just a random object. Your vehicle is a proxy of your body. Where your car goes, you usually go. Your car sleeps where you sleep. It works where you work. It parks outside the clinics you visit. It appears at the houses you enter. It shows up at protests, at churches, at recovery meetings, at political offices, at hotels. A license plate is not a name, but it points to one. A vehicle is not a person, but in America, it often moves like a shadow attached to one. And then there's vehicle fingerprinting. This is the part that feels like it slid out of a cyberpunk police procedural. The system isn't only about reading the plate, it can also classify details about the car: make, model, color, visible characteristics, like a roof rack, a bumper sticker, or physical damage, a missing plate, or a temporary tag. That means even if the tag is unreadable, covered, stolen, faked, or swapped, the system can still help search for a vehicle based on what it looks like. A white pickup truck with a ladder rack, a red sedan with bumper damage, a black SUV with a temporary plate. And that's powerful. For solving real crimes, it can be extremely useful. If a child is abducted and the police have a vehicle description, every second matters. If a stolen car passes a camera, an alert can help recover it. If a violent suspect flees in a known vehicle, a network of cameras can give investigators a lead. This is why police departments like the technology. This is why neighborhoods buy it. This is why the pitch works. And if I'm being honest, if someone I loved was missing and a camera hit helped find them, I wouldn't be sitting here giving a lecture about civil liberties. I'd be grateful. That's the tension. This isn't useless technology. It works well enough to be tempting. And that is always how the dangerous tools arrive. Not as pure evil, as a convenience, as efficiency, as safety, as one more layer of protection in a world that feels like it's falling apart. But when a system captures every passing vehicle in order to find the dangerous one, it creates a record of innocent people by design, not as an accident, as the raw material. The haystack has to be collected before the needle can be found, and you are the hay. Here's where the story turns. If these cameras were isolated, the debate would be smaller. One neighborhood camera, one HOA account, a short retention window, a theft happens. Someone checks the footage. That's it. But that's not the world we're moving into. The power of the system is the network. Flock's platform is built around connection. Communities can share with law enforcement. Agencies can share with other agencies. Searches can cross boundaries that used to matter. City limits, county lines, state lines. And that changes everything. Because your local town may have policies. Your police department may have rules. Your city council may think it knows what it approved. But if the system allows data sharing beyond the original community, then one little camera at a subdivision entrance becomes part of a much larger information ecosystem. That's where critics like the ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation started sounding alarms. They argued the danger isn't just one officer checking one plate. The danger is normalization, a world where mass collection becomes routine, where warrantless movement tracking becomes administratively easy, where public roads become an excuse to build private memory. And listen, Flock disputes the mass surveillance label. The company says access is controlled, searches are logged, data is generally deleted after a set period, often 30 days. Customers own their data. Sharing is a local choice. The system is for public safety investigations, not people watching. That's the official frame. And parts of it are important. 30 days is not forever. Audit logs are better than no logs. Role-based access is better than a public free-for-all. But here's the question I can't get past. Who watches the watchers reviewing the watchers' logs? A search log only matters if someone audits it. A policy only matters if violating it has consequences. A local choice only matters if local officials understand what they're choosing. And a retention limit only protects you from long-term storage if the data hasn't already been copied, exported, shared, queried, screenshot, integrated, or acted upon. That's not me saying the company is lying. That's me saying every database in human history begins with assurances. This is secure. This is limited. This is controlled. This is only for the right people. And then something happens. A breach, a misuse, a policy change, a new administration, a new law, a new contract, a new emergency. History is full of tools built for one purpose and stretched into another. And surveillance tools stretch very easily. Because once the camera is installed, the hardest part is over. The infrastructure exists. After that, expanding the use case is just paperwork. First it's stolen cars, then burglary suspects, then missing persons, then gang investigations, then protest monitoring, then immigration enforcement, then out-of-state requests, then public safety intelligence. Not always, not everywhere, but the direction of travel matters. And it always seems to travel toward more access, more integration, more retention, more reasons, more cameras. The machine never says, I have enough. So let's look at part of this episode's title, the Panopticon. The classic Panopticon was a prison design, a circular building, cells arranged around a central tower. The prisoners couldn't always see the guard. They didn't know when they were being watched. So eventually, they behaved as if they were always being watched. That was the genius of it. The guard didn't need to look at everyone every second. The possibility was enough. The camera at your neighborhood entrance works differently, but the psychological effect is similar. You may not think about it on the first drive or the 10th, but eventually you know it's there. You know your comings and goings are being logged. Maybe not watched live, maybe not reviewed, but captured, searchable, available if someone decides to care. And that knowledge changes the way a place feels. The street becomes less like a public road and more like a checkpoint. Welcome home. Please create a timestamp. Now here's the twist. The most disturbing version of this story doesn't require a secret dictator. It doesn't require a smoky room. It doesn't require a classified memo titled Operation Watch Everybody. It only requires fear. And we have plenty of that. Fear of crime, fear of strangers, fear of the car circling the block, fear of the person checking door handles at 3 a.m., fear of packages disappearing, fear of catalytic converters being sawed off from under cars, fear that police won't arrive in time, fear that nobody is in control. So someone proposes a camera, a clean solution, a subscription, a solar panel, a dashboard, a little promise bolted to a pole. This will keep the bad people out. And maybe sometimes it does. But it also keeps a record of everyone who comes in. That's the bargain. We trade anonymity for reassurance. We trade the old freedom of moving unnoticed for the new comfort of searchable safety. And the reason this conspiracy hits so hard is because there's no single villain to blame. Not really. The police want tools, the company wants customers, the investors want growth, the city wants lower crime stats, the HOA wants residents to stop yelling about thefts, the public wants to feel safe. Everybody gets something, except the person who never got asked, the ordinary driver, the one whose daily routine becomes part of a data set because safety was easier to sell than consent. To be honest, that's the part that feels most modern. The surveillance state of the future may not be forced upon us. It may be crowdsourced, built by committee, paid for with dues, approved by people who would never describe themselves as authoritarians. People just want fewer break-ins. People just want the neighborhood to feel the way it used to. People don't realize that every time we try to recreate the past with technology, we usually build something the past would have feared. So why does the flock camera story feel so conspiratorial? Why do people see these black poles and instantly think something is wrong here? Because deep down, we understand something has shifted. There used to be a difference between being in public and being tracked. That line is fading. When you drove across town 20 years ago, people might have seen you. A cashier, a neighbor, a traffic cop, some random guy walking his dog. But those sightings were scattered, human, forgettable. No one person had the whole map. Now the map can assemble itself. A camera sees you here, another sees you there. A timestamp connects them. A database organizes them. A search tool retrieves them. That is not the same thing as being seen by a stranger at a stoplight. That is memory at scale. And memory at scale changes freedom. Because privacy isn't only about hiding bad behavior. Privacy is the space where you become yourself without being analyzed. It's the ability to visit a place without explaining why. To make a mistake without it becoming a data point. To explore. To associate. To dissent. To disappear for an afternoon. Not because you're guilty, because you're human. The nothing to hide argument always sounds strong until you ask a few follow-up questions. Nothing to hide from whom? For how long? Under what laws? Under whose administration? With what oversight? With what error rate? With what appeal process when the system gets it wrong? Because systems do get it wrong. License plates can be misread. Vehicles can be misclassified. Hot lists can be outdated. Data can be shared too broadly. People can misuse access. And even when everything works exactly as designed, the design itself can still be dangerous. That's the uncomfortable truth. A perfectly functioning mass surveillance system is still a mass surveillance system. And this is why people believe the conspiracy. Not because they think every flock employee is part of a secret plot. Not because every police department is corrupt. But because the shape of the machine resembles the thing we were warned about. A distributed network of cameras. A private company in the middle. Government access. Searchable movement history. Public-private partnerships. Local approval without national debate. and citizens slowly adjusting to the idea that being logged is just part of being alive. That's how dystopias usually work. Not with one giant switch, with 1,000 little conveniences, 1,000 tiny permissions, 1,000 meetings nobody attended. Until one day you look up at the entrance to your neighborhood and realize the checkpoint was installed while you were busy living your life. So where do we land? Is the flock camera conspiracy real? Here's the balanced answer. There is no credible evidence that flock safety is a secret shadow government operation designed to enslave the public. So there's no need to invent a hidden cabal. The company is public facing, the contracts are often public, the cameras are visible, the pitch is straightforward. Crime happens, police need leads, communities want safety, technology offers a solution. That part is not mysterious. But the outcome? That's where things get harder to dismiss. Because the critics are not hallucinating the core concern. A nationwide or near nationwide network of automated license plate readers can create an extremely detailed picture of how people move. Even if the system only stores data for 30 days by default, 30 days of movement history can reveal a lot. Your work schedule, your worship habits, your romantic life, your medical visits, your political activity, your routines, your deviation from those routines. That is sensitive information. And when that information is collected on people who are not suspected of any crime, the constitutional and moral questions are real. Flock's defenders can point to solved cases, recovered vehicles, abducted children found, and violent suspects located. And all of those examples absolutely matter. But civil liberty advocates can point to the bigger architecture and ask, what happens when this tool expands? What happens when laws change? What happens when data sharing crosses jurisdictions? What happens when the wrong person searches the right plate? What happens when an innocent pattern looks suspicious to an algorithm? Both sides are seeing something true. This technology can help solve crimes, and it can normalize mass tracking. Those two are not mutually exclusive. That's what makes this entry so uncomfortable. The conspiracy theory is wrong if it says that this is a secret master plan. But it is much closer to the truth if it says we are building a surveillance dragnet without fully admitting what we are building. Not because the monster kicked down the door, because we invited it into the HOA budget. Not because Big Brother conquered the suburbs, because the suburbs asked Big Brother to watch the entrance. The machine is real, the motive is ordinary, and maybe that's worse. Tonight, when you drive home, look carefully. Not at the road, at the edges of it. Look near the subdivision sign. Look near the shopping center exit. Look at the little pole by the stop sign. Look at the black box angled toward your lane. And when you see it, don't panic. Don't swerve. Don't do anything strange. Just notice it. Notice how normal it looks. How boring, how easy it is to miss. Then ask yourself, how many times did it see you before you saw it? How many little red flashes have marked your life without your knowledge? How many databases contain the shape of your routine? And when you turn into your neighborhood and the camera quietly records you coming home, ask the question nobody asked at the meeting. Are we keeping danger out, or are we locking the cage from the inside? Good night.
That closes this entry of the Tinfoil Diaries. But the file doesn't end just because the tape stops. Follow or subscribe so the next signal finds you. And if this entry made you pause, question, or look twice at the story you were handed, leave a 5-star rating and a short review. That is how we slip past the algorithm and keep the transmission alive. Send this to one person who still notices the details everyone else ignores. And for the deeper dive, the timelines, theories, strange documents, in-depth articles, and lies, visit thetinfoildiaries.fyi. Until next time, keep your eyes open. Keep your doubts sharp. And never forget, the pattern is always louder in the static.
The camera doesn't need to know your name. It already knows where you sleep.